Welcome to the NewsHour. A partial verdict has been handed down for members of the far-right extremist group, the Proud Boys, for their involvement in the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol.
A federal jury today found 4 members of the Proud Boys guilty of seditious conspiracy. That includes the group's former leader, Enrique Tarrio, along with members Ethan Nordine, Joseph Biggs, and Zachary Real. A 5th member, Dominic Pizzola, was found not guilty of seditious conspiracy, but he and the others were convicted of obstruction and destruction of property. Attorney General Merrick Garland spoke about the Justice Department's victory earlier today.
The department has secured more than 600 convictions for a wide range of criminal conduct on January 6th, as well as in the days and weeks leading up to the attack. We have secured the convictions of defendants who fought, punched, tackled, and even tased police officers who were defending the Capitol that day.
NPR's national justice correspondent Carrie Johnson has been following all of this closely from the courtroom and joins us now. Carrie, let's begin with that sedition conviction. 4 of the 5 defendants there. What did prosecutors argue they did on January 6th, and how did they prove their case?
Prosecutors basically argue that these men lined up as a fighting force for former President Donald Trump and agreed to do everything they could, including force, to keep Trump in power and basically overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election. They started the story with that presidential debate where Trump asked the Proud Boys to stand back and stand by, continued it through December 2020, with Trump encouraging people to come to the Capitol and saying it will be wild, and then tracing a number of chat messages and videos and podcasts to the day of January 6th itself, when some of these men were involved in some of the earliest breaches at the Capitol complex that day.
Carrie, as you reported, as many have, Enrique Tarrio wasn't even at the Capitol on January 6th. He wasn't in Washington. What did we hear from their defense attorneys?
Tarrio's lawyers basically said he's a scapegoat for the former president, that it was too hard or too complicated for the Justice Department to charge Donald Trump with wrongdoing, and so the government went after Enrique Tarrio instead. They did point out that Tarrio watched the events of January 6th from a hotel room in Baltimore, in part because he was in trouble for defacing a banner at an African-American church in D.C. in December of 2020. But the government said that Tarrio was monitoring the action from afar and sometimes directing his troops on the ground. They pointed to a chat message Tarrio posted on January 6th saying, "Make no mistake, we did this."
As you know, the Proud Boys are a far-right extremist group. They were founded in 2016. More than 20 of their other members have been charged in connection with the January 6th attack. How much did the trial reveal about their culture, and how much of a danger they still pose today?
So much about their culture. You know, the Proud Boys call themselves a Western chauvinist organization. The defendants try to portray themselves as involved in like a drinking club and in a partying group. But the government cast a much darker shadow and said that there were people actively fomenting violence, encouraging it, posting videos, expressing themselves as so-called lords of war, and taking a victory smoke after the siege on the Capitol. And so there was this tug of war between the party boy culture of the Proud Boys and the rally boy culture. The jury seemed to believe, in the government's view, that these defendants were bent on violence on January 6th and before as well.
Carrie, you covered the previous sedition prosecutions against members of another far-right extremist group, the Oath Keepers, and their role in January 6th. Did that trial and outcome in any way relate to today's outcome?
Only in that the Justice Department has now successfully convicted leaders of both of these far-right groups, the Oath Keepers and the Proud Boys, of seditious conspiracy, the most serious charge we've seen to come out of this sprawling investigation of January 6th. And that certainly is a vindication of the Justice Department's strategy in this case. Those charges are very hard to prove. Now they've proved that leaders of 2 different far-right groups that played enormous roles on the ground on January 6th were engaged in a violent effort to overthrow the government. And that's significant as part of this broader investigation, which continues, as Attorney General Merrick Garland said today.
As part of today's outcome, there was a mistrial declared on a few counts on which the jury could not reach a verdict. What's important to understand about that?
Well, these defendants, including Dominic Pizzola, who was acquitted of seditious conspiracy, were all convicted on other pretty serious felonies. Some of them carry a 20-year maximum behind bars. So when they're sentenced, probably sometime in August, these men are all certainly facing a long prison term. And it's not clear to me the Justice Department is going to want to pursue a retrial on those 10 counts. So it may be that they'll take their victory and go home.
Carrie, is there any word on whether or not the men will appeal?
There's a strong word on appeal. In fact, Tarrio's lawyer said that they're disappointed in the verdict and they're placing their hopes in the appeals courts. Throughout this trial, there have been so many motions for mistrial, I can't even count them. All of these defense lawyers have been raising objections and making them for the record. I think there'll be a very hearty appeal moving forward from all of these defendants who were convicted today.
All right. That is NPR's national justice correspondent, Carrie Johnson, joining us tonight. Carrie, thank you. Always good to talk to you.
Thank you.